We are coming back, my friend. Sorry about that. ESR, we're back. We're live. We're talking about Karma, the drama, roster mania following UMG. EG doesn't even go to the event, yet they're the first to start the roster mania as Karma announces he doesn't want to play for the team. As of now, the captain has said Karma is on the bench, according to Twitter. We'll see. Who does EG wheel and deal for? Because you know there's going to be some kind of monetary transaction going down. We highlighted 3 teams with bank accounts big enough that could potentially pay for a move, but I think there's a few more to look at. We looked at Optic Gaming, we looked at Envy, and we looked at FaZe. 2 more teams I want to highlight are Optic Nation and Denial. Denial, of course, a new group. You can see Replays, Saints, Zuma, and Study. Karma with a 1.17 throughout the lifespan of Ghost with his streamed matches. Saints with that same number. And then you look at Optic Nation. Ben, who would you say that Karma would match up best for on the Optic Nation lineup? If you're Optic Nation trying to get over the hump of a top 4 finish, break into a top 2, who can get you to the championship match? Who do you need to swap out?
In all honesty, I think that Nation are a solid team the way it is. But if they were to make a change, the only player I can see on that team that they would get swapped out for would be Ricky. The reason behind that is you immediately bring Karma back in towards Miracles and also Killer. They have that chemistry. They were a really, really good trio.
Black Ops 2 national champions together, or world champions.
Exactly. World champions. So you bring those 3 together. That could be a lethal team. Embo's, he's not going anywhere, period, in my mind. I cannot see him leaving Optic.
He's the face of Optic Nation.
Right. He really is. Money B. Everyone loves Money B. He statistically may not be the best player, but he does a lot of the dirty work, which I think often, may get overlooked at times. But in terms of the actual statistic comparison between him and Ricky, it would actually be really beneficial, I think, for Nation to potentially look at that, because Ricky KD is 1.08 as opposed to a Karma 1.17. So it's a bit of an increase there. And as well, the team chemistry that's naturally going to fit in could be a lot more. So that could be a really lethal team if I'm completely honest with you. Fuck it.
Now I'm trying to find Ricky's KD in Search and Destroy versus Karma. So Ricky actually has a 1.23 overall KD in Search and Destroy games. That's probably, well, I guess you could definitely argue that is his best game mode. Karma, where are you at, my friend? He is right below him at a 1.20. So you're basically doing an even swap in Search and Destroy. But you're getting so much more in the respawn game modes.
Oh, without a doubt. His respawn is a lot better than Ricky. And I think a lot of people will look at Optic Nation when they play and they'll see Ricky who's sitting on the top of the leaderboard. Well, you kind of have to say, well, imagine that just a little bit more. Imagine getting even more kills, how much easier that would make the job. But in all honesty, Ricky does a fantastic job the way it is.
Right.
Optic Nation have to sit back and think, hey, do we really need to make a team change? Like, is it really even worth it? We got a great team the way we are. Can't see them changing that much, to be honest with you. But if they did, the only team change I can see on that would be Ricky.
The only reason I think it's a bit more possible than some of the other considerations is Optic Gaming has never been to a championship match. Also, I think if you compare swapping out Clayster for swapping out Ricky, if you're the Optic organization as a whole,
right?
Are you more scared of Clayster joining up with EG or Ricky joining EG? I would feel safer bet that I'm grabbing the best player or one of the best players in the game, and I'm giving less competition to my foe.
Right. I think that's something that you definitely have to think about. You don't want EG to become, dominant as they once were. Obviously, Clayster used to play with them, and that asks a whole different question itself. Would Clayster want to play with EG again? After he got dropped the first time, there was so much hatred that was thrown around. Clayster was furious with his teammates. He was saying, hey, this is unfair. I played so solid throughout the season. And obviously it ended up with him being on Optic Gaming and bringing them home a championship, which is what he originally promised when he first joined the team. So can I see Clayster moving? Not at all, if I'm honest.
Really? Because he is the one guy who I feel like just he wants to win. He wants to win more than everything else. And last time we saw him get dropped, he went to Team Caliber before he joined Optic Gaming. He went for the second best team in the game. EG, arguably the best team still in the game. So I wonder if they'd be able to put feelings aside and make that happen, because the current lineup of evil geniuses are some of the most competitive human beings I have ever met in my life. All of them hate losing that much. Clayster's right up there with them when it comes to winning versus losing. What do you love, hate more? So I honestly, there's so many different places that Karma can go, but let's talk the flip side. let's talk about who can fill Karma's spot on this EG squad, the team that was the dynasty for almost all of Call of Duty Ghost.
So the first player you have to really look at is Formal. Formal has been a name which, in the past couple of months in COD eSports, he's just been so in the spotlight. Every single event has been, Formal is playing out of his mind. Formal dropping serious numbers. Formal, everything has just been Formal. Even when he was playing Advanced Warfare for the very first time, that whole Advanced Warfare broadcast was, all right, what's Formal doing? What is he up to? How nasty is he at this game? Because he's one of the most naturally talented gamers to grace gaming, I honestly think. It doesn't matter what game he plays. I believe he's a Platinum League of Legends player. He's I think, a Eagle Counter-Strike player on PC. Me and Hastro had a big discussion. He was saying he plays with Formula on a wide variety of different games. And he's so talented at everything he plays. It doesn't matter what it is. So he has to be the first name. If EG have any sense, they have to look at Formal. I need to think, all right, what do we need to do to bring Formal across the EG?
Now, because Karma is such a nasty slayer, of course he does get objective done, but EG really puts a lot of trust in TP to do most of that dirty work. So I wanted to ignore the objective stats for a moment and only focus on kill to death. Throughout the lifetime of Ghost, since our guys started keeping stats, Karma has a 1.17. Formal has been a monster recently. Over his lifetime, a 1.13. Ridiculous for anyone who has made the transition to Call of Duty in the last year. But then you look at, Karma's got the edge in overall. He also has the edge in domination, almost by, a 0.1, which is pretty big deal. Search and destroy, though, it's a lot smaller difference than I thought it might be. Karma with a 1.2.
Right.
Formal's actually in there in the top 11 with a 1.17.
The hardest thing for EG that they're going to have to put when you're looking at stats, Karma has the highest KD of any player that's played. I think it's above 11 maps. So you look at, who's played the most maps, and you take into consideration the KD, because I think you have like Flawless who leads it with like a 1.48, but he's played like 8 maps.
Yeah, I threw
look
that
at everyone who's played the
maps
full maps. Yeah, I mean, like, it's a ridiculous stat for Karma to be that consistent. So this is the best Slayer, like, in domination.
Yeah,
in my
over
mind.
184 games, he has 1.17.
That's crazy. That really is. To be that consistent over that many games, EG, they're losing a big part of their team right now, and they do need a big player to come in and fill it. And as we've heard a lot of people come on and say, is Formal wants to be on the best team in the game. He wants to win. Who better to join than, world champions who don't look like they're anywhere near about to lose anything that they play in. If Formal was to replace Karma, that would be a really good trade for them.
Well, you got Crim 6, you got TP from the west side, Formal originally from California.
Right.
Would be right at home if he makes the return. Aches would then be the only player on the East Coast to worry about. So that move makes perfect sense to me. The question is, would Envy broker the deal? Is that a cashless transaction? How would that go down? Because I think Formal is near the very top of the free agents list, considering no one's a free agent. Right now, everyone is locked to a team,
Right.
But in eligible players that could fill the role, I think Formal comes near the top. Another guy I want to talk about, though, is Saints. Saints has gotten a lot of grief for not going across seas, has not been going to Canada. Basically, anytime that requires a passport, he doesn't seem to show up. But in the States, the man has been on point. You look at their overall KDs, Saints, one of 4 players tied with Karma. It's Scump, Crim 6, Karma, and Saints. They're with 1.17s. Saints comes into our top 7 overall, tied with Karma. But when it comes to domination, Karma has a 0.01 edge. Blitz, Saints has a 0.04 edge. And S&D, once again, not too big of a difference, but it's Karma with the advantage. Is this a fair trade in your mind? How would this work out, a Saints for Karma brokering? Is Saints someone that EG should be looking at?
Statistically, a decent trade, but I just, no. I immediately throw that one straight out the window. I see no validity to that whatsoever. I just don't see EG risking that. Who knows why Saints has never managed to attend an international event, but this is the best team this is a team who wants to be known as the best team in the world. This is a team that wants to go to Gfinities. They want to attend events in France, events in Spain. They want to travel across the world playing COD while they can, and they want to win every major championship.
I guess Karma's tweet was, I was going to get dropped because I couldn't attend the French tournament. So
ironic, really.
whether that's
Yeah.
true or not, let's just bring that up again. So Saints, okay, arguing against the international. I didn't even think about that before you said it, Ben.
You do have to think about that. I think when you look at it, I can't see a Karma and Saint like statistically, yeah, great. I would say if every event was in North America, 100%, this is a player that you want on your team. He's a slaying animal until he goes to that sort of first international event, and then you go, yep, all right, that's when he becomes a big international player in my mind.
All right, big shout out to COD eSports.tv for helping me bring up some of these comparisons. Our next player to look at is Dito from FaZe, the U.S. champion. He's beaten this Evil Geniuses squad. Would he potentially be a solid fit for them? A 1.17 versus a 1.15. Domination, Karma has the edge by 0.04. Blitz, it's going to be Dito with the edge by 0.03. S&D, once again, less than a 0.05 difference between these two players.
Very, very close, that's for sure. And I'm pretty sure Aches tweeted a picture out of a scoreboard which had his name in it. So, I think he's trying to drop some hints, maybe. Who knows? But he's having some fun, that's for sure. I've seen a lot of trolling on my Twitter timeline. I'm sure you've seen a similar thing. But statistically, all these plays that we're thinking about, very, very close to Karma. But in my mind, none of them really kind of
No one is
that
Karma.
gap. That's the thing. No one is Karma. I think one player that we haven't really mentioned, I think we should mention just briefly. I saw a couple of people mention this earlier on. I definitely thought about one when I first heard the news is, think about when EG first made the team change, dropping Clayster. Who was the one player they really looked out at? And that was actually Scumpy. If you remember, Scumpy came out and he said, oh yeah, EG approached me. In all honesty, can't see him moving at all. I still think it's important that you should know maybe they're going to go after him.
Bring back leverage, man. Would they do it?
Right.
That could be very interesting. I don't think. Let's just go ahead and roll this out. After Scumpy left for Envy, he said he learned his lesson. He'll never do it again. Granted, there was a little bit of drama before he did it for the second time. But Scumpy's been on EG. He said it in a tweet today. He's not going anywhere. So chat, calm down. Scumpy is staying on Optic Gaming. And if you're Optic Gaming, you're not going to lose. I mean, he's almost the same level as Nadeshot now. Like, you have a two-face Optic Gaming. Everyone knows every member on Optic Gaming, but I feel like Nadeshot and Scumpy are the two pillars of this team that everyone knows and loves. So, Scumpy definitely would be a phenomenal move to EG, but I honestly just have to throw that out the window. It's not going down. On the other side, here's a little hint from Aches, and I think this one's quite interesting. Let's take a look at Aches' tweet and go full screen on this. Earlier today, he wrote, a look back at Frag Cup 4.
Yeah.
Semifinals versus Farico. Look who's on top, dropping 57 kills here on Hijacked compared to Karma's 42. Of course, this is a different game, but EG might be thinking the long run, new Advanced Warfare. Can you finish out the season starting with the guy you used to play with way back in the day before all of his roster drama, Fears?
I think maybe you could, because Fizz statistically is up there without a shadow of a doubt. And as you mentioned, he tweeted that old scoreboard. Again, you have to kind of take everything H tweet with a little bit of salt. Is he being sarcastic? Is he being truthful? He loves this kind of the drama. This is kind of what he thrives for. And
right.
Is he going to make that change? I think now, if you're going to make a team change, you want one of the players who's in the top 5 teams. I don't think you want to really make a crazy change, but potentially he could. But for me, that's more of a tweet, to try and get his timeline sort of kicking and alive to really sort of get into the roster mania.
So this is Aches trying to get attention in your eyes, not a real deal.
Not trying to get attention, but I just think he's trying to sort of get everyone a little bit more hyped for potentially.
He's looking for attention. Aches, I still love you. So, Fears though, the one thing that made me feel like Aches was being legit is he says we're playing with Fears in our COD League matches. Karma's on the bench. Mutiny Fears is our guy. So my question is, this could definitely be a trial period. You don't have to go out and try and fill that 4th spot. Maybe you go a bit longer. I mean, these guys have until September 19th, I believe, to make team trades.
They do.
So I'm wondering, can Fears pull this off? Mutiny's a name that we've seen quite a bit in tournaments recently. Will he be able to step back up into Tier 1 of competitive Call of Duty? Ben, what's your honest opinion on this? I know we haven't seen him or cast him for a good 9 months.
It's been such a long time since we saw Fizz kind of in the main spotlight. Statistically, though, this is a play that you can't doubt. He technically beats Karma on a couple of stats. There are obviously less maps played, so that does sort of change the stats somewhat. But he's a sub already on the team.
Yep.
They're going to be playing with him. I would say there's a possibility it could be Fizz, but I think there's other players that they're going to look at before they would sort of settle with Fizz, if that makes sense. I think Fizz is a great player, and they're definitely going to be thinking about Advanced Warfare with the pickup of Fizz, I would honestly say. But, as I said, they're going to look at other players potentially first before they settle down with Fizz.
All right, so this is what the chat said. No effing way Fears is coming back. Fears and John are beasts. They just don't grind. If Fears grinded, he would be a top 10 player. His KD is so high because of how many matches he played. He hasn't played that much, right? Honest opinion.
60, it's 60. Well, that's the thing. If you look at the amount of games Fizz has played, you have Flawless, who leads KD overall. He has a 1.37, which is great, but he's played 21 maps. Fizz is in second with a 1.19. He's played 65. That's a fair few maps.
Yeah.
Third place is attached with the same, but he's only played 29. And then, of course, you have Saints, who's played 129, but still, he shows he has that natural talent. And, if EG are going to be playing with him already, you have to think, could that be a clue?
This could be the real deal, man. So many different things are about to go down. Guys, I have some internal sources, so I've tried to stay, just staying back, just stating hypothetical situations. The sources are not ready to come out and say anything for real, and that's because businesses have to get business work done. Once it is complete, I'm sure we'll all find out, but keep your eye on the roster Mania. Benson and I will be live with the eSports Report. Any breaking news that we can bring you, we will right here on MLG.TV. Ben, I want to thank you so much for coming on. Before I let you go, final thoughts. Where does Karma land? Who lands on EG?
It's tough. Honestly, I'm not going to give my final thoughts because I have some, as I said, a little bit of intel, so I'm just going to leave it open to interpretation.
Okay.
I don't want to give anything away.
You don't want to say that Formal's going to EG?
We've covered a lot of bases, Puckett. We've talked about a lot of different things. We've looked at a lot of numbers.
You don't want to say that Karma's going to Optic Gaming?
I'm going to say it's interesting.
You want to see Karma's going to FaZe? No? Nothing?
I want to say all of them. I think Karma's he's going to morph into 3 different people, and he's going to play on a load of different teams.
I love it. Well, Ben, thank you for dodging the hard questions and supplying answers to the easy ones. Guys, we'll be back with more live on the ESR. We'll be talking about not only Roster Mania 2014 version 17, but we'll also be breaking down what went down in the COD League last night. Stay tuned.